In this video, I attempt to put this sorry mess of a car back together again. Will it work? Right, let's get started. I'm trying to sort out this cylinder head. You join me in my workshop, which, just like my garage, is a complete mess with bits of 2CV all over the place. These are the old front wings off my 2CV, and they are considerably rotten. I'm not sure why I still have them. But anyway, I've got the cylinder head here. I've just slackened off the adjustment on that valve to try and wind it in, because I want this deck completely flat. And that's because I'm going to attempt the redneck homebrew cylinder head skimming. I've decided I can't spend any more money on this car, it's just not worth it. So I'm going to take my sandpaper and I'm going to smooth off the head. At the very least, this will get rid of all the cruddy bits of gasket and everything. I'm not promising it's going to skim it like a machinist would, because they have machines. So I will be using a piece of glass above the sandpaper, and that's to try and ensure consistency. This is 2CV front door glass, by the way, from France by the look of it, and that should let me keep that all level, because the one thing I don't want, if I just attacked it with my fingers and a bit of sandpaper, I could get it very uneven over the whole thing. I want this even. I want to be able to get my steel ruler on it and not have any movement, or be able to get underneath it with a pair of feeler gauges. I've already had a quick go at that and I haven't really been able to get under it. There's just one tiny low spot where I was able to get the the 0.1 of a mil gauge under, but not the 0.2. So that's encouraging. But I've decided I'm going to do that and throw it all back together, and we'll see where we're at. So I'd better get cracking. Well, that seems to be starting to clean up nicely. You can see where I'm getting down to the aluminium, certainly. And those areas don't seem to be rubbing back, which suggests they're actually low points rather than high points. This is quite a coarse grain for my first grain, just to mostly get rid of bits of gasket and nastiness. So I'm going to move to a smoother grade as I get closer. But yeah, hopefully this is doing more harm than good. No, hopefully this is doing more good than harm. It's a gorgeous day here in paradise, and there has been post. We have gasket kit for this car, and we have a thermostat. I will be putting that into the system. I was going to try and flush it without, but speaking to the knowledgeable people, they reckon it's better to have a stat in there. Tomorrow I will be jumping in this car to take the cylinder head from this car to somewhere that can recondition it, and they're going to try and skim it for me. I wasn't going to skim it. I was starting to think maybe I can get away with it and not have to bother, but I found something which I don't like very much, so we'll go and show you what that's all about. Into the workshop. It's so cool in here, so refreshing. So here is the cylinder head, and the bit that worries me is this bit here. There's some very clear erosion on the side of the head. You can see it's lovely clean line there, but it's all broken up there, lots of pitting, and it's all generally a mess. So I've decided that, yeah, I'm not going to do a homebrew skim, which I was doing, which was using paper and a sheet of glass to try and keep a level. It's cleaned it up quite nicely, so it's got all the old gasket off, but there's so much pitting here that I can't really get rid of that way. So we're going for a full-on skim. And the place is also going to check the valve seats, because if your valves aren't sitting nicely in their seats, then you're losing combustion, and if you're losing combustion, you're losing power. So with a 1.6 engine, I can't really afford to lose power, so we'll go and get this skimmed and see what that does to things. Well, at last I have the cylinder head back. It's been away, it's had the valve seats all redone as well as the skim, so it's now tip-top condition, and I can refit it to the block, which I've kept covered up. I'm not sure if I have to, but it just felt like the right thing to do. So that's the face of the cylinder head now. Now it's been all skimmed, so all the valve seats, the valves have been removed, the seats cleaned up and cut back, I think. It's looking far better than it did. Ready to go back in. And here's the gasket. I've taken the precaution of just smearing some oil around the bores because they've dried out while it's been sitting here. And so at least there's some slight film of oil in there before the engine starts, although I will be turning it by hand before I get too carried away, because the last thing I want to do is wreck my new cylinder head. And the reason I might wreck my cylinder head is because if the timing's not right and the valves are trying to open at the wrong point, they'll hit the pistons. Not all engines do this. If it's a non-interference engine, it means that if the timing goes to cock, it doesn't matter. That means the valves and pistons never overlap. As far as I'm aware, this is an interference engine, so that means that the valves and the pistons can theoretically hit. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I will be turning the engine gently by hand, or as gently as I can, before I go for the big old fire up. Long way to go before then, because I've still got to refit everything. So I better get on with it. There's a very important tightening sequence to the cylinder head, so I'm just checking it in the book at the moment. And basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that helps spread out the torque as you're doing it to try and keep the head flat. There is apparently an untightening sequence as well. Oops. Right, I haven't done a video update for a while, but we're at this stage at the moment. I've got the head in and the head is torqued down, so that's all good. But suffering slight issues because the timing belt fell off. That wasn't really meant to happen, so I've lost my timing now. But I think I've got this right. There are timing marks on both the pulleys, although that's the crankshaft pulley there. That only fits in one place. That only fits in one place. So as long as I get the timing marks right, all should be well. As a precaution, I've got all the valves, because the valves have been out, they're all backed off on the rockers, so there's currently no interference going on, and I know that because I've been gently turning the engine over on the crankshaft by hand. I know the engine will rotate and there's no tickety tickety smackety smackety noise, and that's good. I must apologise to my YouTube viewer who turned up on my driveway not all that long ago. I wasn't particularly friendly because I was lying under the car having a spot of bother, and also this is kind of my garden. I'm not used to people randomly appearing in it, and I don't wish to be unsporting, but I would prefer that people don't do that. I mean, it's a lovely spot, but it's my lovely spot. I'm very happy to meet people at shows, that sort of thing. In fact, I'm at the Bristol Classic Car Show. I probably was at the Bristol Classic Car Show, that was ages ago. But, you know, by all means, when I'm at shows, come and say hello. I like to speak to people. But when I'm at home, a bit scary. But yeah, I mean, that's progress really. We have a refurbed head in place, torqued down correctly. And now it's just the painful business of trying to get it all together. I'm waiting for parts. I'm going to put new water pump, timing belt and tensioner on. It's yet more expense. This is turning into one very expensive car, but hopefully it'll be worth it after all this. Oh, and the MOT runs out on Monday. It's currently Friday, and there's no way I'm getting this in for a test. The parts aren't going to arrive till next week, so frustratingly slow at the moment. But let's have a quick sneaky peek at what else is going on in my life, because in the complete mess I call the garage, the nipper's in at the moment, and that's because the brakes are utterly rubbish. That's the good pad. It's meant to be rather more meat on it than that. There's some marks on it because it took some extreme violence to get that out, which isn't correct. That shouldn't happen. So I'll be doing a video on the nipper's brakes at some point as well. So there we are. All I can do is crack on with work, and there's lots to do. We've got a new issue of Retro Japanese coming out fairly soon. This is the old one, and yeah, I'm never short of stuff to do. And here's why I'm particularly annoyed. If I just swing around slightly, outside my office window is the Bluebird sat there lurking, looking dreadful because the number plate fell off and not running at all. On the plus side, the view out the window really isn't too bad, is it? Even on a murky day like today. Oh well, back to work.